In the bustling city of Tokyo, there lived a 16-year-old girl named Rania. She lived with her parents in a small apartment in the heart of the city. Rania was known for her kind heart and her spirit of giving. Wherever she went, she loved to help others. Whether it was her elderly neighbors, her classmates, or even strangers she met on the streets, Rania was always ready to lend a helping hand. Every morning, Rania woke up with a smile on her face, ready for a new day of kindness. She would start her day by distributing food to the homeless on her way to school. Carrying a bag filled with meals that she had prepared with her mother, which included sandwiches, water, and some sweets, Rania knew all the homeless people by name. She would listen to their stories and hardships, sharing with them a message of hope for a better tomorrow. After school, Rania volunteered at a nearby animal shelter, caring for the cats and dogs, feeding them and cleaning up after them. Everyone loved Rania, not just because of what she did but because of the way she treated everyone, with a kind heart and a smile that never left her face. Rania's parents were incredibly proud of their daughter. They had taught her the importance of kindness and compassion from a young age, and it was evident in everything she did. Her mother often said, "Rania, your kindness is a gift to this world." Her father would add, "Always keep that light in your heart, and you'll bring joy wherever you go." Despite living in a city as busy as Tokyo, Rania found ways to make it feel like a community. She knew the shopkeepers in her neighborhood, greeted the elderly with warmth, and helped young children cross the street safely. Her actions were like ripples in a pond, spreading out and touching the lives of many. Rania's school life was filled with the same spirit of kindness. She was a good student, but more importantly, she was a good friend. If a classmate was struggling with their studies, Rania was there to help. If someone was feeling down, Rania would cheer them up. Her teachers often praised her for her generosity and willingness to help others. One day, as Rania was walking home from school, she noticed an elderly man struggling to carry his groceries. Without a second thought, she rushed over to help him. "Thank you, young lady," he said, smiling. "You have a heart of gold." Rania felt a warmth spread through her. She didn't help people for praise or recognition. She helped because it was simply who she was. That evening, as Rania sat at the dinner table with her parents, she recounted her day. Her mother nodded approvingly. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, makes a difference. Her father smiled. "Rania, you are making the world a better place, one good deed at a time." Rania believed that helping others was not just about making their lives better, but about creating a world where everyone looked out for each other. Little did she know, her kindness would soon come back to her in the most unexpected way. Rania's life in Tokyo seemed simple and full of joy. She found happiness in the smiles of those she helped and peace in knowing she was making a difference. As Rania continued her routine of helping others and spreading kindness, life seemed predictable and peaceful. Every morning, she would deliver meals to the homeless and then head to school. After school, she spent time at the animal shelter, caring for the cats and dogs that had come to know her well. Rania found joy in her daily acts of kindness, and the people around her appreciated her generous spirit. But one afternoon, something unexpected happened. Rania had just finished her volunteering shift at the animal shelter and was walking home. She noticed a man standing on the street corner, looking anxious and holding a large, suspicious-looking bag. His eyes darted around nervously, and Rania could sense that something wasn't quite right. Her instincts kicked in. and she decided to approach him to see if he needed help. "Excuse me, sir," Rania said softly. "Is everything okay? Do you need any assistance?" The man glanced at her with a startled expression, as if he hadn't noticed her approaching. After a moment's hesitation, he forced a smile and said, "No, everything's fine. Just waiting for someone." Rania nodded, feeling that his response was less than genuine. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. As she turned to leave, she heard the man mutter under his breath, "I can't believe it's come to this." Curiosity and concern tugged at Rania. She walked a little distance away, but continued to watch the man from the corner of her eye. Suddenly, another man approached him, and they began speaking in hushed tones. Rania strained to hear, catching only a few words about money, desperation, and a dangerous deal. Rania's heart skipped a beat. She realized that the man was in some kind of trouble, possibly involving something illegal. Torn between wanting to help and knowing that the situation could be dangerous, she decided to stay at a safe distance and keep an eye on what was happening. She knew she had to act carefully, as her own safety was also at stake. As she continued to watch, Rania saw the two men begin to argue. Their voices grew louder, and Rania could see that the situation was escalating. Fear gripped her heart, but she knew she couldn't just walk away. She pulled out her phone, ready to call for help if things got out of hand. Before she could dial, the man she had first approached suddenly turned towards her, noticing her presence. His eyes widened with recognition, and he quickly grabbed her arm, dragging her into the alleyway. Rania's phone fell from her hand, clattering to the ground as she struggled against his grip. "Who are you? Why are you following me?" the man demanded, his voice shaky with fear and anger. Rania's heart pounded in her chest as she tried to think of a way out. "I just wanted to help," she said, her voice trembling. "I saw that you were in trouble, and I thought..." "Help," the man interrupted, his expression softening slightly. "You don't understand. I'm in over my head. I lost my job, my family. I have nothing left. This deal is my last chance." Rania's fear began to give way to compassion. She could see the desperation in his eyes. "Please," she whispered, "there has to be another way. Hurting others or getting involved in illegal activities isn't the answer." The man hesitated, his grip on her arm loosening. But before Rania could say anything more, the second man approached, his face twisted in anger. "What is this? Who is she?" he demanded. Rania felt the situation spiraling out of control. In that moment, Rania realized that her kind-heartedness had led her into a dangerous situation. She needed to find a way out, but as the men argued, she felt trapped. The day that had started like any other had now become a test of her courage and compassion, and Rania was about to find out just how much she was willing to risk for the sake of helping others. Rania stood frozen, her heart racing as the men continued their heated argument. The tension in the air was palpable, and she knew she needed to act fast before things escalated. She looked at the first man, the one she had tried to help, and saw the fear and regret in his eyes. He was trapped in a situation he couldn't control, just like her. Gathering her courage, Rania took a deep breath and spoke up. "Please, listen to me," she said, her voice calm but firm. "You don't have to do this. There are other ways to find help. Hurting others won't solve your problems, it will only make things worse. I've seen people turn their lives around with a little bit of kindness and support. Let me help you." The first man looked at Rania, his eyes softening. Her words seemed to reach him, breaking through the wall of desperation that had surrounded him. He nodded slowly, a flicker of hope appearing in his eyes. But the second man wasn't convinced. "This girl is a problem," he hissed, glaring at Rania. "We can't let her go. She knows too much." Rania felt a shiver run down her spine. She had to think quickly. "I won't tell anyone," she promised, her voice steady. "I just want to help. Let's find a way out of this, together. There are people who can assist you, who can help you find a job, or a place to stay. You don't have to resort to this." As Rania spoke, she saw the first man's resolve begin to crumble. He turned to his partner, desperation replaced by a glimmer of hope. "Maybe she's right," he said quietly. "Maybe we can find another way." The second man looked between Rania and his partner, his expression hardening. But then, something shifted in his gaze. He realized that the situation was spiraling out of control, and that there might be a way to avoid further trouble. With a frustrated sigh, he nodded. "Fine," he muttered. "But this better not come back to bite us." Rania breathed a sigh of relief. She had managed to defuse the situation, at least for now. The first man released her arm, and she stepped back, her heart still racing. "Thank you," she said softly, looking at both men. "I promise, I'll help you find a better way." The men nodded, and Rania felt a wave of relief wash over her. Her instincts to help had placed her in danger, but they had also shown her the power of kindness. As she left the alleyway, she knew that this experience had changed her. Her kindness was not just a habit, it was a strength that could make a difference, even in the most challenging situations. Days passed after Ronia's close encounter in the alleyway. The memory of that afternoon stayed with her, a reminder of how powerful compassion could be. She had continued her routine of helping those around her, but with a new sense of caution and awareness. She knew she had to be careful, yet she couldn't turn her back on people who needed help. One evening, as Rania was walking home from school, she noticed a group of people gathered in front of her apartment building. There was a sense of excitement in the air, and Rania hurried over to see what was happening. To her surprise, she saw the two men from the alleyway standing there, looking anxious but determined. They were surrounded by some of her neighbors and the people she had helped over the years. The elderly man she often helped with groceries was there, along with the shopkeepers, her classmates, and even a few of the homeless people she had given food to. They all seemed to be talking to the two men, and when they saw Rania approaching, they turned to her with smiles on their faces. "Rania," the elderly man called out, waving her over. "These men have something they want to say to you." Rania approached, her heart beating fast. She didn't know what to expect. The first man, the one she had spoken to in the alley, stepped forward. His eyes were filled with gratitude. "Rania," he began, his voice sincere. "I don't know how to thank you. Your kindness, your willingness to help, it saved me. After that day, I realized I needed to change my life. I found a job, thanks to the people you've helped. They heard my story and gave me a second chance. I'm trying to make things right now." The second man nodded in agreement. "Me too," he added. "I've realized that there are better ways to solve my problems. It's all thanks to you. Your kindness has brought us hope." Rania felt tears well up in her eyes. She had never expected her actions to have such a profound impact. The people she had helped had, in turn, helped these men. Her community had come together because of her simple acts of kindness. The elderly man patted Rania's shoulder. "You've touched all our lives, Rania," he said warmly. "We're here today to let you know that you're not alone. If you ever need help, we'll be here for you, just as you've always been here for us." Rania's heart swelled with joy. She realized that kindness was a circle, always coming back to those who gave it. She looked around at the faces of the people she had helped, now surrounding her with love and support. In that moment, Rania understood that her greatest gift was the community she had helped to build, a community that would always stand by her side.